You step into a stone courtyard before dawn, and the air feels like a message. Cold, thin, insistent. It moves through the carved archways, lifts the tassels on prayer flags, and carries a quiet that makes even the birds hold their breath. You notice he does not stretch. He does not breathe in a way that announces himself. He simply waits, as if waiting is a practice carved into his bones. Around him, the other disciples cluster at the edges, afraid to interrupt. His name is a rarity here. Even the young students who call every elder something with a dozen syllables and twice as much reverence rarely say his true name. Instead, they use a title that has become a myth, the Blade Catcher. It's a name that travels. Traders mention him in the same breath as strange silks and songs from distant valleys. Soldiers point toward the temple on maps and tell rumor as strategy. If you ever need a blade stopped, go to the Blade Catcher. Footsteps echo beyond the temple gate. They are slow and measured. There's no hurry in them. Hurry would suggest fear, and these steps carry no fear. The courtyard disciples freed. Even the birds that usually wake with the first light are silent. From the mist steps a figure wrapped in dark cloth. No armor weighs this person down. No loud metal announces arrival. Movement is economy and intent, coiled, precise. The only bright thing is a sword, slender, polished, and unnaturally still in the stranger's hand. No formalities, no ceremony, no word of greeting. "You have traveled far," the monk says, voice even as a bell struck once. The stranger's voice is low, clipped. "I have traveled for certainty." You feel the space change. The air between them thickens like a drum about to be struck. The assassin draws the sword, not theatrically, but with the kind of patience that makes the act itself feel inevitable. The blade catcher lifts one hand, empty, unarmed, still. Then the stranger moves. Not forward, sideways. A flash diagonal, efficient, aimed for a place that would kill before thought can form. The throat. The disciples gasp. It's too fast for someone unpracticed. It would be fatal for most. But the blade catcher does not flinch. His hand snaps upward. Fingers close. Steel arrests between skin and air. The attacker's eyes narrow, not with surprise, but with calculation. He twists the blade. The strike resumes, but angled differently. Again, the monk's hand meets blade mid-path. Again, it stops. Each interception cleaner, faster. The attacker becomes a storm of geometry. Yet each slicing path is met by the same impossible pause. Then the attacker changes the rhythm. He leaps back without a sound. "You are exactly as described," he says, and you hear no triumph, only appraisal. "And you are exactly as expected," the monk answers. The attacker steps forward, but this attack is not a strike. It's a disappearance. One moment the man is 10 paces away, the next he's at the monk's back. A blade drives forward, silent, precise. Several disciples cry out. It should have been over. The blade catcher moves faster than fear. Without turning, his hand shoots backward, fingers close. For a fraction of a second, there is contact. Then a sharp metallic snap echoes across the courtyard. A thin line of red appears along his skin where the blade passed. The assassin steps back, voice cool. This blade was forged for one purpose. The monk flexes his wounded hand, expression unreadable. "A segmented edge," he says. The attacker tilts the weapon toward the sun. It's not a smooth edge. It's a composition of countless tiny sections, interlocking, shifting, adapting at impact. The courtyard erupts. Steel tears fabric. Stone underfoot chips where momentum meets unyielding balance. Each time he attempts to seize the edge, the blade responds with a different geometry. Cuts blossom across his forearm, ribs. Yet he does not fall. He does not scream. His stance lowers. The air around him tightens like a bowstring. He stops reaching to catch and starts striking. Elbows, knees, the open palm that pushed a blade's travel earlier, now they become weapons themselves. The monk moves with controlled ferocity, short arcs, sudden inclines, close and effective force. For a moment, the attacker staggers. The monk's strikes find places the segmented blade cannot reach quickly, but the attacker reads it and retakes initiative. The sword flashes, reclaiming space with measured cuts. Both fighters carry red now, both carry the rhythm of damage and attention. Then the attacker commits. A full-speed charge aimed straight for the monk's chest. No trick, no misdirection, just an absolute lethal line. Both fighters stand, chest heaving, wounded, watching the blade as if considering whether it will rise again. The courtyard freezes. The attacker's stance opens like someone reconsidering a hypothesis. "You abandoned your legend," he says, tone half accusation, half relief. "No technique is absolute," the monk replies, steady as a chime. They move at the same time toward the fallen weapon. The attacker's hand finds the hilt first. Steel lifts, and then the blade catcher's other hand catches the attacker's wrist, solid, unyielding. Not the blade, the arm. Grip like iron. The attacker struggles, fingers strain. "Blades evolve," the monk says, voice low as a secret, "but hands endure." There is a single decisive sound, a strike, a tumble. The attacker collapses. The courtyard is silent, except for breathing and the wind that seems to have been waiting to speak. The monk releases the wrist and stands, bloodied, composed. Then he turns away, as if it were another lesson. You feel something shift inside you that is not exactly fear, not exactly relief. It's an unsettling truth. Even what you think of as unbreakable changes. Even legends must move with the world, or they break. So what do we carry from this story? First, mastery is not the same as finality. You can train, refine, and become a measure against force, but new challenges change the rules. Second, adaptability beats dogma. When his primary skill failed, he didn't cling to it out of pride. He shifted to close-quarters techniques, used the environment, and leaned on fundamental strength, unflashy, reliable, in work, in relationships, in your mental habits. When the tool you always use stops working, learn another way. Third, the human element matters more than the technology. The attacker's weapon evolved, but it still relied on human intent and human hands. The monk's response relied on his own body, his reflexes, and his willingness to step inside the equation. The line "blades evolve, but hands endure" is a reminder. Finally, legends are living things. They don't remain perfect relics. They must be questioned, retested, and sometimes revised. The blade catcher did not become less for being wounded. He became human, and that made his response more meaningful than any untouchable myth could have been. You leave that courtyard with the image of two figures in the mist, one who had once been untouchable, one who came to prove that untouchability was no shield. You carry the sound of steel on stone, the quickness of breath, the small, stubborn truth that adaptation matters. If there's one thing to take into your day from this tale, let it be simple. Train, yes, but don't fall in love with the idea that any single method is forever. Be ready to learn again. When something unexpected lands, step inside it, use your hands, make a new choice. Thanks for listening to The Courtyard. Keep a hand ready and a mind open.